Hello, welcome back to another video, not only for Patreon members, but this is for YouTube as well. And here we are. It's game week 1, basically. It's the lead up to the first game of the season, the first fixture of the new Premier League season. Preseason is done. It's over. And Fulham had a great preseason. Let's not beat around the bush. It was a very positive preseason in terms of results, performances, squad harmony, and just the way everything felt. So very pleasing. If we go over the fixtures, the games in pre-season, a win against QPR, I think 4-0, 6-1 over Watford, and then 1-0 over Benfica, 2-1 loss to Sevilla, but positive signs in the second half, and a 2-0 win against Hoffenheim, and then a 3-3 draw in a 60-minute friendly. That was behind closed doors. The club have now released that as a statement as a result, so that can be said. So really good. I think have I missed out a game there? Maybe I don't think I have actually. Yeah, so that's great. I mean, it really is. In terms of feel good factor, I was in Portugal, just got back from Germany yesterday. I had a great time personally. It was a great experience, and literally love it. It was amazing. But just from the outside looking in, also from like being there and observing, how players were interacting with one another, and obviously watching behind the scenes footage that the club put out, it felt good. And of course, last summer, that pre-season, in fact, in America, the tour in America was just shadowed by so much uncertainty about certain players and the manager. There were press conferences after those games where Silva did say, I'm staying at Fulham, and in the middle of all that as well, he was also unhappy with lack of signings, and suddenly but let's not talk about last summer. You know what happened. Since we last spoke on YouTube, the title of the video was Fabio Carvalho back to Fulham? Question mark. Since then, he's joining Brentford. So yeah, and a few Brentford fans have had a laugh and a joke at Fulham's expense, and I was never really for this in terms of personally. I didn't really want him back. I was very unsure about the whole thing. Do I think £27 million for an unproven Premier League player is wise? Not really. However, he does have potential. So, is it a good signing for Brentford? It could be, but I'm not going to sit here and talk about Brentford for the next 15 or so minutes. What we are going to talk about is just what's going on. Where are Fulham at? There's going to be preview content to come on Patreon. So I didn't do a very good job in Germany of plugging the Patreon at all. I think it was such a quick trip, and there was lots of traveling and lots of admin to do. I didn't really have time to sort of sit down and hey ho. Where the Patreon links are. We really would like some more subscribers. It has slowed down since Portugal. Probably my fault. I didn't plug it enough, but this week I'm going to be fully on it, plugging all the content that's going to be coming out on Patreon this week, and then obviously the press conference is going to be this week as well, the game. So suddenly there's going to be some really fun, cool content on there, and I would love it if you subscribed. And also, we're almost at 400 YouTube subscribers. I think we're at 397 or something. So 3 of you subscribe, we hit 400, and happy days. I would like to hit 500, of course, by the start of the season. So if we can really push it out, there's going to be a lot of YouTube content, a lot of Patreon content. It's a busy week for myself personally, for the Premier League as a whole, as it's starting. And as you can tell by my tone, I'm pretty excited about everything because, once the Premier League starts, the EFL started last weekend, caught up on all the highlights. That was all great. And now it's, the Premier League, and suddenly we're into the flow of things. Football is back, and we love it. So, well, what happened? I mean, yesterday I was on an incredibly long journey back from Hoffenheim, basically, to Frankfurt Hahn Airport, which never go there. It's in the middle of nowhere, basically. It's nowhere near Frankfurt city centre. And I was up early on my 26th birthday, which was it was just a stressful and weird day. And I finally got on a coach to go to the airport. And I thought, okay, maybe I can just have a bit of kip just to catch up on some sleep. And I maybe put my head down for 5-10 minutes, woke up, saw my phone. The first notification that was there was David Ornstein, with the first word being Fulham. And I was like, wow, now I've properly woken up. Joachim Andersen. I just, honestly, what is going on this summer? First, it was Ryan Sessegnon, then it was Fabio Carvalho, who's now going to Brentford, and now Joachim Andersen. Maybe we've been linked with someone else who used to be at Fulham as well. I can't actually remember. But this wasn't just a link. This was a bid. Fulham bid 20 million for Joachim Andersen, former Fulham player. Of course, I'm very well liked. I from what I sort of, I really liked Joachim Andersen as a player. I know we went down that season under Parker, but that partnership with Tosin was quite special. I really enjoyed their chemistry, and now Anderson's gone on to play for Palace, and he's done well at Palace. That partnership with Gahey is very, very good. And then when Andersen came to Craven Cottage last season with Crystal Palace, he was on one. I mean, he should have got probably a red card for all the fouls he was committing. He finally got booked in, I think, added time, when I remember it getting sarcastically applauded by the Craven Cottage fans, or Fulham fans, sorry. It was just, and it was an erratic performance from him in a 1-1 draw. But I think this would be an interesting signing. I would be all for this. However, we're linked with Carlos. That's apparently close to an agreement, or maybe no closer to agreement than the update that was literally yesterday as well. So, and then Fulham going for Joachim Andersen. So there's a debate. I was talking to some people at the airport yesterday about is this a smoke screen? Are we basically doing this to hurry along the negotiations with Diego Carlos, or is there actually something in this? And Joe Sanson made the very good point that there wouldn't be a bid if there was no intent of actually securing this deal. Now, Palace come back and say, look, 20 million, you're lowballing us. We want 40 million, which I think is probably quite reasonable in terms of like their valuation of him. However, I don't think Fulham are going to spend 40 million on a 28-year-old centre back. So there must be maybe some agreement in the middle. There could be a 30 million agreement, maybe, but it's early days on this one. What Fulham do need is more players. I think that let's talk about those two that friendly out in Germany. I thought it was a pretty slow affair. I thought the intensity wasn't quite there, and we saw probably more intensity in the games against Sevilla and Benfica in Portugal, and the Hoffenheim game, which I was expecting just to be a little bit more intense because we are 1 week away from the season starting. And the game was just a bit flat. The atmosphere was a bit flat, but it's a friendly, so it's fine. Fulham obviously winning the game by 2-0. Really well taken goal by Emil Smith Rowe, and then a really well taken goal by Adama Traore. So Alex Iwobi with 2 assists. And you look at that 11. Lukic at the base, interesting. Fulham still don't have a defensive midfielder that replaced Paulinho. Will we make do with Lukic for the time being? Perhaps. I think Harrison Reed and Sasha Lukic should probably play together against Manchester United. We'll come on to that in a bit. And further on in the week, I really did jump the gun there. But we played Pereira in the 8 and Smith Rowe in the 10. They sort of maybe sometimes they switched, and then Smith Rowe would go out wide and Iwobi would come into the 10. And it was good the way they all sort of interchanged. That's sort of what Fulham have with their strength. They've got all these players who can play in all these different positions along the front three, the final third, sorry. And that interchange can sort of confuse defenders, confuse the opposition. You don't really know what's coming next. But what was telling was that Adama Traore started ahead of Harry Wilson. And I do wonder now, with the game for United now being 4 days away. I mean, today is Tuesday. It's basically 3 days away. No, it's Monday today. Sorry, excuse me. It's Monday. It's 4 days away. Monday the 12th today. Will Adama start at Old Trafford? Now, I think he will probably be a great impact sub. But then again, you get 70 minutes out of Adama Traore, you can create a hell of a load of chances. And use that space to exploit and use that pace to exploit the space. I am super excited about the potential that this Fulham team have at Old Trafford. I think that there's definitely opportunity there. Smith Rowe, brilliant on the ball, really good ball retention and links up play, links up with Robinson. There's a really good bit of chemistry building there. And then, of course, Iwobi setting him up as well. That was really good. So the Fulham's attack is looking really good. The only person that slightly concerned me was Rodrigo Muniz, who, has had he had a few chances against Benfica and Sevilla. Or actually, he didn't really play much against Sevilla, so excuse me, but he just didn't look at it on Saturday. He played up front, he tried to hold up the ball, but he didn't get involved enough for me. And obviously, he's the goal scorer, he's the striker. Do need to see a little bit more from Rodrigo Muniz. Raul Jimenez then came on. My issue is, are we going to have a situation like what we saw this time last year, where, or not this time last year, but early on in the season, last season, was that Fulham had plenty of really good attacking play in the final third, but they couldn't score a goal, and they struggled to create at times. Vinicius scored one against Luton. Raul Jimenez didn't score for a while. Muniz wasn't playing, so Fulham were struggling to score from the strikers up top. And obviously, Muniz had that purple patch, and that really has put him in the spotlight now as, okay, he's the main man for Fulham. But so far in pre-season, there's not been much of an indication that form's going to continue. But it's pre-season and the Premier League, and I would not be surprised if after 15 minutes, Rodrigo Muniz comes up with a goal at Old Trafford. Like, honestly, he is a goal scorer, and he's a natural goal scorer. So maybe he just needs to find one goal to get him going, and you never know. Same thing happened with Raul Jimenez. He scored one goal at Villa away, and then he got a couple against Nottingham Forest and West Ham. So that really did help him. And then of course, Rodrigo Muniz got one against Burnley, and then went on that incredible goal scoring run. So yeah, those are obviously the concerns. The concern as well. Well, that's one concern. The other concern is that Pereira playing in a slightly deeper position was okay, but obviously seeing Smith Rowe and Pereira start on paper, incredibly exciting. But I do think that Fulham at times got caught out in the transition where Hoffenheim would come forward and Fulham would be short of numbers as such, but there would be a lack of intent to sort of, how Paulinho was, he'd snap into tackles and win the ball back in dangerous positions. Fulham are lacking that player. They're lacking that player in central defensive midfield. There hasn't been any real links to a central defensive midfielder since like last week. Andre's all gone quiet. I've got no idea what's going on there. You might as well start forgetting about that one, I think. Or maybe it might resurface later in the window. McTominay, played in the Community Shield, and United fans are saying, oh, actually, yeah, let's send him to Fulham. He's not that good for their standards, whatever. But yeah, apart from that, it's all been a little bit quiet. So I think right now the closest Fulham are to making another signing is probably a right centre back in either Diego Carlos or, would you believe it, Joachim Andersen. Andersen is an interesting one. Diego Carlos would be obviously a lesser fee for a player 2 years older than Andersen. Andersen's obviously, he's a really good player, and we've seen that before with Fulham. I just think the fee might be a little bit extortionate for the age, but then again, Premier League experience. He's playing week in, week out for Palace. Went to the Euros with Denmark, so this is an international footballer. They're not going to come cheap, and it's a Premier League rival selling to another Premier League rival. The same with Diego Carlos, but because of his age, maybe the fee is slightly less than that of Andersen. Palace won't want to sell. Palace will probably be really upset with Fulham this summer. Sessegnon, yeah, come and train with us. Oh, are you joining Fulham? Okay, fair enough. Smith Rowe, we're really interested. Oh, Fulham are getting him. And then if they were to buy Joachim Andersen, Mark Gahey is now linked with Newcastle, and that's looking like it's going to get more and more serious over the next week or so. Palace are in trouble in terms of, that is their back two. That is their two centre backs in terms of their partnership. I know they bought a new centre back this summer, but Palace won't want to let Andersen go on the cheap. But the intent's there from Fulham. There's two right centre backs that they're right now in the market for, and have put bids in for. There might be other targets as well. Okay, so today is Monday, and the feeling from myself is, okay, we can go to United and we'll give them a game. We've got the players who've done that last season. We've spoken about that enough. We'll get into United properly later on this week. But I'm excited. I mean, Fulham have quite a nice start to the season in terms of fixtures. Are Fulham ready for a Premier League season? Do Fulham have the squad ready for a Premier League season? I would say 90% yes. 92-ish, 93% yeah. They do need the starting CDM, but I think Lukic and Reed, or a combination of the two, or one or the other, can do a job for the opening couple of games before the window closes. I have no doubt that Fulham will sign a CDM before the end of the window. They have to. I mean, to sell Pelini and then not replace him would be catastrophic. So they will sign someone with it, and whether it be deadline day or tomorrow, it could be any time in between. So I'm feeling fairly positive, fairly excited. Playing a top 6 team on the opening game of the season is usually like, oh, it's a free hit. But it's not, because I see United as, they played well against City, but City's team was nowhere near as strong as they'll be in October, November, when they really start hitting their stride and all their players are back and whatever. So I think Man United are a soft touch completely, whether it be at Old Trafford or away from home. They're a soft touch. I don't think that 3 months off from May until now is going to change much of how how their midfield looks and how open they are and how easily they give away chances. We see it year in, year out, when you think, oh, Ten Hag or whoever's in charge of Man United, they're going to improve. They have to improve, and then they just like, okay, they buy a couple of strikers, they buy a few new defenders, but I don't. Their midfield is basically exactly the same to what it was last season. Kobe Mainoo is obviously a better player now because of the experience, and he's got minutes under his belt. McTominay is, in my personal opinion, a very good player. Bruno Fernandes, obviously, really good. But I think that they are there to be shot at, and the midfield battle will be very, very key. I think the Fulham's weakness is their midfield right now, and I think that's where United's weakness is as well. United now have some really good options. I don't know why I'm proving this in depth now, but this is on my mind. After watching the highlights back from the Community Shield, they've got Amad Diallo, very good player, Garnacho, Anthony, Rashford, Sancho. So they've got some good options going forward. Xerxes, Hoyland's obviously still injured, and that's obviously going forward. At the back, they've got Johnny Evans. Johnny Evans, get someone running at Johnny Evans, and he's not going to win the pace race, is he? So I think there is opportunity here for Fulham. There really, really is. And obviously, United will be very conscious of the fact that Fulham played them off the park last season. So at Old Trafford. And I think at Craven Cottage, Fulham were good value for a point. And then a failed clearance and Bruno Fernandes scores the goal. It's a bit of a sickener. But that's all in the past. Looking forward, and the threats that Fulham could just sort of sit and play on the counter-attack, or try and actually dominate the ball and stamp authority on Man United, there is opportunity. I've probably we'll probably discuss this in more detail later on in the week. This is quite a long video, I think, because there is sort of catching up period where we do sort of need to catch up from what's happened over the weekend. It was, like I say, quite a frantic time out in Germany, and it's nice just to sit down and get your feelings across about how personally I'm feeling. I want to hear your feelings as well. Put it in the comments below. How are you feeling ahead of United? Do you think that Fulham have a good shot of getting something from the game? I said it on Fulhamish the other day. I think Fulham could, and I think Fulham will. That's my hot take, that Fulham will go unbeaten from United until Man City away. So in that time, they play United away. Who's next? Leicester at home, Ipswich away, West Ham at home, Newcastle at home, Forest away. They're the opening. Is that 6 games? Yeah. So I think the favourable fixtures, people say, oh, we never beat Newcastle. Yeah, but I think Fulham at home against Newcastle, I think a draw, that's still unbeaten. So there's opportunity there. And I think obviously this could backfire. United could win. They might win. They're favourites to win against Fulham. But you've got to back your team. And I think from what I've seen in pre-season, the threats Fulham have going forward, there's definitely an opportunity there. But we'll talk more United in the next couple of days. So Andersen bid rejected. Fair enough. Lowballed it at 20 million. They want double that. Carlos, an agreement's close, but it's taking its time. Will Fulham get a new player in by the time we play United? Maybe, but I don't think that player is going to be ready to play. He's not going to start. I don't think he might. I don't know. Things happen very fast, of course. Trevor Chalobah is a player who has just been banished for playing for Chelsea. It's just say what you like about how Chelsea do things. I just think that's wrong. It's very wrong to just banish a player. So he's another option that Fulham could look at and have looked at this summer. But Crystal Palace seem to be the team that I wouldn't say look more likely to sign him, but they might be in hot pursuit of him. Mark Gahey's going to Newcastle probably, so that'd be interesting. Now, this is a really interesting point. Kalvin Phillips has not really been linked with Fulham at all. However, if you go on Sky Bet and you look at Kalvin Phillips' next club favourites, Fulham are like odds-on favourites. Like our prices, and I do it in decimals, 1.33, which means if you put a pound on, you get £1.33. So like honestly, like they are the favourites. The next club is like Everton at 5-1. So there's been no rumours, no links or anything. Someone's just put a lot of money on it, or people are putting money on it. I don't know where it's come from, but Kalvin Phillips obviously is a DM. And I was talking about this with some people yesterday. Like, I think if Kalvin Phillips can reignite his career at Fulham, which I think is definitely possible. What Marco Silva's track record is like about getting the best out of a player. A loan with an option to buy would probably be the best move, because you get him in on loan, you use one of your domestic loans. You can't play against City. That's fine. That's 2 games. That's 7 games into the season. The last game of the season. That's fine. And then you have a player who, if he reaches that back to that potential and back to the player that he was when he was at Leeds and first joined City, you've got one of the best DMs in the Premier League, if not England, because he got the England call up. He's been in the England squad for international tournament. I mean, he's mustard. He's a great player. If it doesn't work, it's just a loan. And a loan with an option to buy, there might be an extortionate fee, but there's some negotiating skills that can be done for that sort of permanent deal. A loan with an option to buy would also mean that probably won't be the only DM Fulham will try and get or sign this summer. So, like I say, I haven't seen a single article linking Phillips to Fulham. Something might come out in the next few days. But the fact he's odds-on favourites to sign for Fulham there might be something in it. There might be something in it. If not, then a waste of 2 minutes just talking about him there. But certainly an option, and certainly a player who will obviously want to be playing first-team football this season. After he's had a torrid time at City, really, if you think about it, and a terrible time at West Ham. Again, not really he made a couple of mistakes, and West Ham fans are very, very quick to get on his back. So, look, I'd give him a chance at Fulham, definitely. Permanent deal depends on the fee, but a loan with an option to buy, or just maybe even a straight loan, would be fine by me. So Fulham, I think we're in a good place. Not a great place, but a good place, and I think that's good. We've rattled on for. I don't think I've ever made a video this long for YouTube just yet, but there has been a lot to talk about. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I think that might be it. So let's look at this now. Good preseason, a favourable start to come for Fulham. Have they got all the pieces of the jigsaw yet for their Premier League squad? No, but it's looking okay. There's a squad there. There's a team there that's very, very capable of getting something at Old Trafford. Very capable of beating Leicester. Very capable of beating Ipswich. And then by the time we play, I think West Ham on the 4th game of the season, the window's closed. It's all over. You'll know the look of the squad. I'm excited. Marco Silva will speak to the media on Wednesday ahead of the game on Friday. So I'm guessing Fulham will travel up on Thursday, maybe. Obviously, they'll be staying up there, and then Manchester United in the evening. So, it'll be a long day for those players to sort of wait around the anticipation. There's a whole load of fans going up. We've sold out the away end and there's no trains back. The last train is halfway through the second half. So fair play to everyone driving up or getting the coach up or staying up there and going back the next morning. Can't wait for this one. Can't wait for the Premier League to start again. And we'll do a proper, predictions and Premier League review on this channel. There's also on the other channel I work on, Fulhamish. We are doing our Jack and Joe show today. That will come out later this evening. That's our Premier League preview. We'll be giving our predictions for Championship and Premier League and discussing United in depth. So actually, you'll get an idea. You've already got an idea of what I think about this game against Man United, but we'll have a video dedicated. We'll have a video dedicated for that game in the very near future. Thanks so much for watching. If you would like to subscribe to the channel and give it a like this video, then that would be much appreciated. Also, do subscribe to the Patreon. I think we got some really good content out in Portugal and Germany. There's still stuff to come tonight for those Patreon members. It's a £5 a month, and for that £5 you get a lot of content and a lot of stuff that you might not see from your average journalist or your average Fulham page or Twitter page or whatever. So it's an exciting time. The links, like I say, are in my Twitter handle, Instagram handle, YouTube homepage, and I'll put an unhyperlinked link in the description below of this video. Wow, Preston manager Ryan Lowe has left the club. I mean, that's got nothing to do with Fulham, but that's just popped up on my phone. One game into the new season, so we already have our first managerial change of the new campaign. Ryan Lowe. Why? I don't know why you wait one game into the season. I suppose he left on his own accord. It sounds like it there, but why would you leave after a game? You've had the whole preseason. You play the Blades. You lose 2-0. Relegated Blades. Anyway, this is not Preston North End channel. This is the Jack Kelly, sports journalist covering Fulham FC channel. Thank you so much for watching. Almost half an hour of just rambling, but hopefully this gave you some sort of catch up on all things Fulham. And who knows? Today's Monday. By the time this goes out, there could be a brand new rumour, and I have to fire it all up again and make another video, which of course is I would love to do that. This is the best job in the world. So thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for being here. We'll speak very, very soon.